Welcome to Thursday edition of Detroit in Black and White. I'm Adolph Mongo. Here we are. We all at home or wherever. You know, one day we're gonna be able to get Vanessa to come on Thursdays, but you know, as an attorney, she's doing her thing. Jim Nardone, how you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Allan Lengel, co-founder of Deadline Detroit. How you doing, Allan?
Good.
Before we start talking, let me throw this out there. Mayor Duggan, supporting Mary Waters. That's unusual that you have a Democratic mayor and an incumbent supporting someone that's running against an incumbent congressperson, Sri Thanadar. What do you think of that, Jim?
I think it's kind of unusual. I'd like to know what his play is there.
Well, you know what his play. He's running for governor.
Well, how is Mary Waters going to help him get elected governor?
Because you know what? At this point, with no African-American representation from Detroit in Congress for the first time in 70 years or so, yeah, listen, he's playing his hand. You know, Duggan, listen, I haven't agreed with Duggan on 3/4 or whatever, but the guy is smart. He knows how to play politics, and a smart move. Allan, is it a smart move?
I think so. I mean, like you say, it's unusual that usually, I mean, there's usually not that kind of pressure to endorse if you're a Democrat and there's two Democrats running against each other. I think what you see is that Mary Waters has some base of support
a lot
in
of
the
base.
city, and you feel kind of like the support for Sri is kind of fluid. It doesn't feel like, I mean, he's obviously, look, he got elected, so he's got some support, but you don't feel that solid historical base that somebody like Mary Waters has. And as you say, if Duggan is running for governor, or if he were to decide to run again for city council, for mayor, he particularly, it helps to have Mary Waters support.
And people say, well, Mary Waters got a misdemeanor, bribery, but we look at what Trump got, 198 counts of being a criminal, and he's on the verge. He can get elected president. So whatever black mark that she has on her is nothing compared to what we're looking at the national level.
During the last election in 2022, I guess it was, she had an event over at Eastern Market that I happened to stop in, and there was a crowd of people there. I can tell you that.
She was a good listen. She was a good state rep. There's no question. Smart. I just don't like her advisor. Sam Riddle. You know, he can be a real asshole. You know, he play all that, but that's, it is what it is.
What's the connection with Sam and her? Are they like
they got a personal connection. Yeah. He went to jail because of her. You know what? They love each other, and and Sam is Sam, and so Duggan is not stupid. Duggan say, well, let me do what I need to do. Now, meanwhile, Hakeem Jeffries and the Democratic leadership in Washington, they'll come out and say, well, we supporting
Sri.
And see, in the Black Caucus, leadership has supported Alan Hollier, but he dropped the ball. He couldn't get 1,000 signatures. So here we are.
So I have to give a little credit to the restraint of the Wayne State University police officer that didn't run over Rashida Tlaib the other night or other day. Did you guys see that?
But you know what? I do not like Rashida Tlaib. I didn't think she should have been elected in Congress. But you can't get mad at Rashida. Rashida got relatives in the Gaza Strip. She's going to be who she's going to be. And I'm not surprised that she's out there, throwing dirt and doing whatever against Joe Biden. I think is wrong, but she is who she is.
I, my feeling about Rashida is that I'm severely disappointed. She was sent to Washington by the people in the 13th district, a lot of folks who voted for her,
It's predominantly black.
and which, well, a lot of people voted for enough that she was elected twice,
Yeah.
and I was hoping that I thought it was good that the Palestinians had representation in Washington. I was hoping that she would use that influence to try to bridge the gap with maybe some of the Jewish Congress members to try to move forward some peaceful coexistence when you talk about a two-state solution. But I feel like she's done nothing except promote herself, beat her chest, try to promote herself as a martyr. I mean, I don't blame her for being out at the protests and stuff like that, but I'm very disappointed when people like her, who are supposed to be representing her people, really don't do any bet. She's done nothing to benefit the people
Nothing.
in the Palestinians. She's done something to promote herself as a warrior for the Palestinians, but it really takes more than that. It takes diplomacy, and she had access to that, and she's blown it. And now we have this big fucking mess there, and she's crying about it. But what did she really do to try to avoid this mess? What did she do to try to move things forward? Not much that I can tell.
Not
Unless
one fucking thing. Jim, the quote, the great late philosopher Denny Green.
Dennis Green.
She is who?
Who we thought she was.
That's right.
She is who we thought she was.
We thought she were, and,
So
and she didn't disappoint. That her agenda was Gaza right from the beginning, and there she is. And you know what? Listen, Allan, Jim, we grew up in the protest area, and where people protested against the war in Vietnam. People protested against apartheid in South Africa, etc., etc. As a kid, used to see they were protesting racial discrimination against stores downtown in Detroit, where they said if you can't be boss, don't shop at these places. And listening to my mother talk about when she was a kid in Hudson, where you could Hudson's used to deliver stuff to you, except in black neighborhoods. You couldn't try clothes on if you were black. You couldn't try shoes on. You had to buy as word. So I used to hear all that. And when my grandfather used to say the good old days, there wasn't no good old days for a whole lot of folks. So Rashida Tlaib is, I'll give her a thumbs down, as they say,
But not for the protest.
Not for the protest, because I understand she got relatives over there. And if she's Palestinian, I told somebody the other day, can't get mad at her because she's out there protesting. I'm mad at her because she got elected as a fraud. And she says one thing and she was doing another thing. So
well, I think we have a viewer out there that disagrees with us and thinks that she's representing the residents of her district.
No, her district now. Yeah, she represents Dearborn. She didn't represent the 13th district, which is one of the poorest districts in America. She was representing her own interests, her own agenda.
Well, let me ask you: do you think she could, if she stayed in the 13th?
She'd lose.
She'd lose. Now she doesn't have I don't think she has an opponent in the Democratic.
No, she don't. She got somebody that's in there. But she got $5 million sitting up there. But this is she can't move up the food chain. She's stuck right here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she's not gonna ever be U.S. Senator.
And this guy says she's supposed to be representing Michigan. No, she's supposed to be representing her district. And you know what? If they want to elect her, she won't get shit done. She can't pass a bill. So she can be part of the squad, and the squad is bullshit.
I think Michael's agreeing with us.
Yeah, he's agreeing. But the thing is, when you talk about she's supposed to be representing her district, well, now that she's in the 12th congressional district, there are a lot more Muslim, Arab Americans in that community who are concerned about the war in Gaza. And so now you can't really say that she's not representing her district. Maybe when
Yeah, she is representing her district. But
right.
you know what I'm gonna tell you? It's just like
But-
that. It's just like in Hamtramck. They got a majority a Muslim city council mayor, and I don't have no problem with that. Good for them. But yet, when they was trying to move up the food chain, they was crying about, oh, you don't want us to sound the bell,
the prayer.
pray, and all that, and you discriminate. Then all of a sudden they empower and they say, "Oh, you can't fly this flag. You can't do this. You know what? We're against gays and all that. You can't have it fucking both ways."
It's become the discriminated have become the discriminators once they become the majority. They're not realizing. I mean, their idea is like, well, we're the majority now, but in America we have, which should be ideally, and it's not always the case, the majority should have respect for the rights of the minority. It's like just because whatever, it's just their feeling is, hey, we're the majority now. These are our, they say, hey, being gay or by whatever is against Islam, and so that's offensive to us. And that's okay on a religious basis, but we try to have separation of church and state here in America, and not that it's a constant struggle. We see it with Christian values sometimes where there's an imposition over
where we look at the Pope. The Pope is saying all this shit. Then in a meeting, he called somebody a fag. God.
Yeah.
In Italian.
Did he use that word?
So yeah. I had a quick question for the both of you guys. I've been busy lately. Is like Goodfellas 2 coming out or something? Because I heard De Niro was up in New York promoting something. Is something going on up there?
Well, you know what? They hired De Niro. They recruited him. But you know what? Listen, the only way you can deal with a tyrant and a psycho is to get somebody that's just like that. During World War II, when Hitler invaded Poland and the Brits and France declared war, and Britain had a prime minister that said, "Oh, Chamberlain didn't want to fight, really." So they went and got an asshole who was a bigot, was a racist. He didn't like Indians. He didn't like a whole lot of folks. He was never successful at anything, but he was just like the dictator out of Germany. That was Churchill. Churchill, so you go get somebody that can be on that level. De Niro is, man, he come there. I didn't know he was, what is he, about 4 feet tall?
De Niro? No, he's taller than, let's see.
No, he's not a big guy, but he went in there, and I'm saying, why are you getting actors? Where are the surrogates? Where are the surrogates for Joe Biden? The real surrogates. Where Obama at? That's a real surrogate.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Obama should be there. But you know what? The Democrats have always sort of had a dearth of like tough guys like standing up for them. And look, way back, the Democrats had no voice. They had to rely on comedians like back then, Al Franken, to take on Rush Limbaugh. He wrote, Rush Limbaugh is a big fat idiot. It was a lot of the comedians. I mean, look, the comedians at night, Seth Meyer, Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, those are the voice really of the people pushing back. I mean, the Democrats, who is it? Chuck Schumer really never says stuff. Obama makes an occasional appearance, not much. I think Bill Clinton, I don't know, it seems the Democrats are nervous about having him out there. And I don't know, but by the way, De Niro's 5'10". But
I was nervous.
De Niro is a tough guy who's beloved.
He's a tough guy. He's a fucking tough guy on TV or in the movies. We're gonna take a break and we're gonna come back.
Fellas, I'm new in town, and I've been here a couple times. I absolutely love your place, man. But I've got to ask you, if you can, I've heard that you're going to be shutting this place down.
I'm not proud of it, brother, but we're behind our property taxes. And the county is all over us, man. I'm even afraid to even give them a call.
Well, we can't let it go, brother. I mean, we can't give up. There's got to be a GoFundMe campaign that we can run, you know, even past the plate. Is there a forgiveness program or something that's out there?
Well, unfortunately, that's only for the big guys. No, actually, Wayne County has payment plans for everyone.
Are you for real?
Yes, it's a well-designed program. We want to help you save your business.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. If you have delinquent taxes on your home or business, contact our office, 313-224-5990, or visit our website, treasurer.waynecounty.com. We're here to help. Got it.
Yeah.
I think we got one more commercial here.
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden. Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back, all because I live in Detroit.
You know what? Before we're back, before we get back into discussion, I just want to say I read an article this morning that made me want to throw up. 16-year-old Detroit teenager shot 3 times over his tennis shoes. Old English preparatory school used to be Finney High School. And what really, besides him being shot by people that he run with, they was all coming from school, a lot of teenagers. He had $1,400 tennis shoes on. What the fuck is somebody a teenager wearing $1,400 tennis shoes?
It's the attention. Kids love the attention. We should be smarter than that for sure.
He didn't need to die because of that. But this is what we're dealing with, and saying that none of the presidential candidates are talking this crazy stuff. Now I'm gonna go here with Trump. You got folks that Trump can piss on all these folks over in D.C., rape their wives, kill their mothers, and they still stand out there and say, I'm going to support him over Joe Biden. What kind of cult is that? Is that Jim Jones?
It's a cult. It's a cult. I mean, they've made it clear. I mean, the MAGA crowd has made it clear. You can't convince them that Trump could do anything. I can't imagine anything that he could do. I mean, he could rape somebody, he could kill somebody, and they'd be like, it's bullshit, it's trumped up charges, it's this or that. The guy, I mean, the thing is, people are crying about all these charges about basically Trump trying to, overthrow the election and stuff like that. If we had, I always say this, if we had some militia members in the woods of Michigan who were plotting like that, they'd be doing 30 years right now. This guy, people are like, oh, come on. What do you I mean, for a guy who cried election fraud in 2016, 2020, the Republicans have been involved in the biggest conspiracy of election fraud in this country's history. And a lot of people just blow it off and say, oh, come on. This is unfair. Our Justice Department's rigged. Our Justice Department didn't even want to charge Trump until the January 6th committee laid out the criminal case that could not be ignored. And then Merrick Garland had no choice but to step forward. He did not want to get involved in the politics of it all.
I agree with that. I agree with a lot of things you're saying, Alan, for about 90% of it. However, I'm going to ask you this question, right? I live in Trenton, which is downriver. I grew up in Taylor. There's people walking the streets right now. And some of them are my family, that are like zombies walking to the polls to vote for Joe Biden. He can do no wrong. You can talk about degrees of degrees of criminality or degrees of misconduct. And there's a third of this country that's going to go ahead and vote for Joe Biden, regardless of what he does.
But you know what? The difference is, if you were to put up somebody better than Joe Biden, plenty of people would vote for that other person. With Trump, you can put up better people, and they don't care. They
It's
have,
hard to believe.
But
Yeah.
if the Democrats were smart, and we go back, we were teenagers or younger back in '68 when Lyndon Johnson, who in the '50s and the '40s was one of the most bigoted and racist politicians in America, became a real leader in the Democratic Party, and then became this guy that pushed the great whatever for black folks. And yet all the stuff that he did in civil rights, Voting Rights Act, etc., it meant nothing when it came to Vietnam, and the party said, you know what? Thank you for your service. You got to go. We didn't have that here with the party leadership right now saying, you 81 years old, Mr. President. You know, can you really think with 4 years and you're going to be 85 years old that you're going to be right there, sharp, being able to govern?
Look, the Democratic Party went to him. There were plenty of people in the Democratic Party who went to him either directly or through surrogates and told him, you're too old to run. And he said, fuck you. It's my choice. I was elected by the people.
Why didn't somebody come out and go at it?
Well, I think
they did. You had David Axelrod on CNN saying, it was a prominent person in the party who said he's too old. They've had a number of people who said that,
But you got to have the party leadership. You got to have Chuck Schumer and all the Nancy Pelosi, but they 80. They old people too.
Right. Nancy Pelosi, how old is she? She's
80.
Is she 80?
Yeah, she 80. All these folks. You know what? I'm voting for Joe Biden.
It's only about early 70s, maybe.
But
70s.
I'm voting for Joe Biden. Not that I want to vote for Grandpa, because I like Grandpa, but we got a psycho that we got to deal with. And the psycho can win this election. There ain't no question about it. And if these folks in Michigan don't get off their ass and push the support out here, you're gonna wake up in November, just like we did in 2016. I was already awake when we watch it on TV. They say, well, Michigan going for Trump. We knew it was over with.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Pelosi is 84, by the way.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
So the old theory is you run to the left or run to the right and legislate from the center. Now, if Joe Biden had done that, it would be a landslide for Joe Biden. If he was leading from the center, I think he would have closed.
But the Republicans wasn't letting him do shit.
But do you think it's because of why did he go so far? Why did he lean so far left when he didn't really need to?
Because when you got all these crazies coming at him,
what is so far left because I see him as very centrist. I
really?
Don't see him as far left.
Okay, let's start with the electric vehicles. 10 minutes after that administration got in office, they were going to replace all the gas-powered vehicles with electric vehicles, and that kind of turned into a disaster. It costs more to make an electric vehicle than they make. In fact, I have a friend that works at Ford in Dearborn, and they're basically not shutting down the Lightning plant there. They're making the F-150 Lightning.
Would you buy an electric vehicle?
I drove a Tesla about 4 or 5 years ago. I loved it. I love the idea, everything about it, except if I get in a car, people don't want to wait for you to turn left. when you're driving out there? You think they want to wait an hour and 45 minutes or 2 hours?
Well, they're not even going to have any charging stations in Detroit. So screw the electric.
You know what? You know what? It's science-based, not political. I agree. I mean, the electric thing is really about trying to become less dependent on the traditional fossil fuels. It's not. I don't see it as the leftist thing. I think what's happening, Jim, is that you're right. Now the auto companies are questioning whether that is the way to go, and I think in the end we're going to end up as hybrids are going to be the way to save energy and not be so dependent on and exclusively on electric. And the autonomous cars are another whole story. But I think it's not I don't see it as a political thing. I think it's a movement toward. I mean, Trump has made it political. Trump has made it into you assholes.
Well, Trump. Listen, I had to give the asshole credit. He know how to play. He know how to play the fucking game, and he know how to spin. He's the best spin doctor that I know, and he got these people that if he told them to take poison, listen, 10 million people would kill themselves. Having said that, Jim, COVID hasn't went away, has it?
It has not. You know, we lost 1.2 million people to COVID in this country. We have no idea how many they lost in China. They're saying I think it's somewhere in the 5-6 million people died over there in China. And Adolph and I were talking a little earlier today. Some of the things governments do to control other people, it's scary. So the question I float there is COVID designed as a test balloon for China? I know it sounds far-fetched, but no more far-fetched than the Tuskegee experiment.
What do you mean by that? What do you explain that?
Well, when the government play with people's lives, the Tuskegee experiment in the damn 1930s to the 40s to 1950, where the government sent a team of doctors down to Tuskegee, Alabama, and they took a couple hundred black illiterate farmers and that had syphilis, shot them up with whatever, and they followed them. Now they had penicillin, they could have cured them, and they didn't. And 10-15 years they followed the progression of the disease. Some of them died, some of them didn't. And yes,
and sterilizing.
Go ahead.
When you talk about government controlling, I thought it was interesting in the Daily Beast. Nell Scoville writes about Sam Alito saying, "I can't control my wife," the flag she puts up, and Nell Scoville writes, "While he has control over every woman's baby-making uterus, he does not have control over his wife's flag-lowering arms."
No question.
Really brilliant.
Let's take one last commercial break. We come back and wrap up Detroit in Black and White, our Thursday edition with Jim Nardone, Allan Lengel. I'm Adolph Mongo.
All right.
Fellas, I'm new in town, and I've been here a couple times. I absolutely love your place, man. But I've got to ask you, if you can, I've heard that you're going to be shutting this place down.
I'm not proud of it, brother, but we're behind our property taxes. And the county is all over us, man. I'm even afraid to even give them a call.
Well, we can't let it go, brother. I mean, we can't give up. There's got to be a GoFundMe campaign that we can run, even pass the plate. Is there a forgiveness program or something that's out there?
Well, unfortunately, that's only for the big guys. No, actually, Wayne County has payment plans for everyone.
Are you for real?
Yes, it's a well-designed program. We want to help you save your business.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. If you have delinquent taxes on your home or business, contact our office, 313-224-5990, or visit our website, treasurer.waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Got it.
Without Project Clean Slate, there is no telling where I would be right now.
It gave him back his life, because once he got the felony, it seemed like life was over.
Being unemployed, being depressed, being a burden, Project Clean Slate helped wipe those things away. I can't say thank you enough. I am now able to work for a reputable airline. Detroit had my back, all because I live in Detroit.
As we wrapped up this show, I want to talk about. It used to be my favorite sport, baseball. It's not anymore. It's boring as hell. I can't name one or two Tigers, but Major League Baseball says we're going to take all the stats from the old Negro leagues, go back to the 30s, 40s, and early 50s, and incorporate them into Major League Baseball stats. And now we got Josh Gibson being the number one hitter over Ty Cobb, etc. Damn, it's like 40, 50 years too fucking late. The only people that's left, I think Willie Mays and two other folks that played Major League, Negro League and Major League Baseball. These guys got the shaft. They knew about these stats a long time ago. All they had to do was go to the Pittsburgh Courier, the Chicago Defender, all these black newspapers that kept these stats. When the Yankees was out of town, black clubs played in Yankee Stadium, 30, 40,000 folks come. They had the records, and they could have done it, but they didn't. And now, okay, we're trying to attract more blacks now to Major League Baseball. A little bit too fucking late.
It's just a marketing ploy at this point.
Yes.
People have figured out, like, oh yeah, let's try that. That would be really cool. That would make us look really. I think it's a sad commentary. Correct me if I'm wrong. That we had Negro leagues, that we had separate leagues, that they couldn't be integrated from the very beginning. But now, as you say, so many years later, it's nothing about some kid out of college said, wow, this would be really cool if we did this. And Major League Baseball, which is, look, the most popular sport right now, I think, is the NFL. Has just got it together. I mean, it was the NBA previously. MLB is always okay, but the NFL, hands down, has the best marketing out there.
If these assholes at Major League Baseball, if they had any balls, they would go write Kurt Flood wife a check for he sacrificed his whole career to become a free agent and say, fuck this, you can't just control us, but now to say, okay, you know what, that's just like Oak Park High come to me and say, we're gonna you really broke the 440 record 50 years ago, and we're gonna put that up on the board.
Right.
Fuck you. I don't get. Listen. You didn't do that while I was there, or you did. We giving you a plaque. He laying up there in a casket. Let me give you a certificate of appreciation. Who cares about that, Jim?
Well, it's interesting because when I was a young man, I heard about names like people like Ozzie Virgil and Satchel Paige. We knew who they were. And we're talking about a long time ago. Nobody did anything about it then. As I said earlier, well, I didn't say earlier, but the 1971 All-Star Game was here, dominated by people like Hank Aaron and Reggie Jackson and Vida Blue, Doc Ellis, all these players that was the time. That was the time to make this move, and that's 50 plus years ago. So.
And they didn't do it. Well, as we come to an end, Allan, your final thought.
My final thoughts. Well, I don't know. I'm curious. I'm watching. I mean, to nauseum, the cable stations have been analyzing every little nuance of the Trump case. Like, oh, a jury gave Trump a look. A juror gave Trump a look at the end, and this person said this, and this person asked this, and the defense should have said this and that. I'll be curious what the outcome is. I think the prevailing thought is there's either going to be a hung jury or a conviction. There's not going to be an outright acquittal, but I'll be interested. I think, it'll be interesting if he's convicted, what impact it'll have of having a convicted felon.
I think that Biden, if he's convicted, I think Biden should pardon him.
You think he should?
Yeah.
But he
this shit out
he
of the
can't
way.
pardon on a state case. He can't pardon on a state case. He can pardon. The governor has to do that.
Well,
But
call the governor of New York. Call the governor of New York and say, get this asshole out of the spotlight.
But he's got more cases
But
coming.
he can still just pardon Trump for any future shit at the feds.
He could get rid of all the federal cases. He
Yeah,
could say,
man, there's no question. But it's not gonna happen because Grandpa is gonna double down. You're gonna have two old folks running for office. You know what, man? This is. It's like. But we had two ex-presidents that died in 1820. One was 90, the other one was 92. Jefferson and John Adams, and one said, "Oh, Jefferson, is he still alive?" No, he was dead. Listen, but they wasn't presidents anymore. We got two. That's one of them gonna be 85. And the other one going to be, 81, 82 if they get elected.
And one of them is going to be president.
Well, I don't think both of them one going to be in an insane asylum and the other one might be dead. But anyway, Jim, your final thought.
I think Trump's mouth continues to get him in trouble, and if he keeps talking, he's going to keep getting in trouble. I don't think there's any way out for him. He has no handlers that he listens to, apparently.
Well, ain't no question. So Saturday, we're gonna have who we gonna have, Alan?
We have ML Elric, who is an investigative reporter for the Detroit Free Press. He's been spending part of the week up in Mackinac, and hopefully we'll get some little juicy gossip from up there. He's been mingling with all the folks, and then we have your guy,
George Jackson, used to be president of DEGC, Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, and he's going to talk about what's going to happen to the Renaissance Center. I say, tear this fucker down.
I wrote a little piece in Deadline about it, and Mary Barr is saying we're exploring, but we don't rule out the possibility of knocking it down. Dan Gilbert says it's up in the air. Duggan says I'm going to try to save it. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth saving. I think it's an amazing property. I don't know. The hotel, I think, has been doing okay. I don't know.
Well, they need to tear down, and they need to. The city need to move their offices out of that building over to the old county building, and they need to tear that down, and they need to redevelop. We got prime property here in Detroit, and they don't use it. You go to other places, and you see how they use their waterfront and everything else.
Well, you see the train station, which really I was able to take a tour of. I'm supposed to have a piece in the New York Times on Monday about it, but they took a building, but Ford did not skip any, cut corners. I mean, what they did, they actually to replace a column in the front facade, they went to a quarry from Indiana that had been closed since the 1980s, got like 600 tons of limestone and carved it and put it back up there. They have not. I mean, I've walked in there. It's really, from what it was, it's really a beautiful, probably as beautiful as it's ever been.
Maybe we can do a show from there. You got to pull Lengel.
Yeah, that'd be very cool.
Adolph Mongo, Jim Nardone, former police chief and head honcho out of Trenton.
Future presidential candidate.
Allan Lengel, co-founder of Deadline Detroit, Detroit News, and Washington Post. And thank you, Teresa, behind the scenes. We're going to get you on the air one day. You know, people want to know, who is that person that making this happen? And Vanessa, we're going to have to get on the Thursday show.
All right.
Thank you. See you Saturday.
All right.